welcome to day 6 of Vlogmas 2020, where I am vlogging every day in December leading up to Christmas. Today and over the next few days, I'm going to be introducing you to the members of my herd. So yesterday I shared with you a bit of my story and my story with the alpacas. So I'm going to share now some of their stories, and I'm going to go in order of when I acquired them. So starting with the early ones and going on to the newer ones. First we're going to start off with the girls, and then I will show you the boys. And I expect this to go over about 4 days to go over everyone. There's 39 members of my herd, both alpacas and llamas. I have currently here, actually we have a guest this winter. So that makes 40. We have 18 girls and 22 boys. That's llamas and alpacas combined. And those girls back there arguing over alfalfa. They just finished eating their alfalfa goodies for the day. So they're kind of scattered about. Some are inside, some are outside. But I'm going to edit this in the order to show you them in the order in which they became part of the ranch family. The first alpaca I'm going to show you is this girl who still has her head in the alfalfa. Her name is Toy Dancer. That's T-O-I Dancer. And I got her with a few other girls and boys. They're all suris. She is 18. She is my oldest. She's also the one that has the hardest time in the winter, and I'm always coating her on the cold nights. But she is tall, and I remember when I first got her, she was like the model of the group. All the boys wanted to be with her. She was tall and beautiful and so sweet. She came with the group from a farm that they were treated like livestock and not really handled all that much. But I don't believe that she actually started off at that farm. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, she actually was not. She came from a very prominent Suri alpaca farm here in Nebraska. And there, she was handled a lot. And I know this because when I put a coat on her, the alpaca's instinct is to flee. Their initial instinct is to flee. They're very curious and cautious animals at the same time. And so her first instinct when I approach her with the coat is to run from me. But once I put my hands on her, even just gently putting my arms around her neck, she'll stop and she'll actually just stand there. I won't have to hold her anymore. She'll just stand there and let me put the coat on. Now, I've put the coat on enough times now that she knows what's happening, and she knows that it's a good thing to have the coat on. So she easily allows me to put it on and off of her. But she is halter trained. She walks very nicely on a halter. Get her, she's moving around. So that's Toy Dancer, and she's a sweetheart. I got her with her daughter, and at one time her daughter had a baby, and the three of them were here, well, not on this property, at the former property. They were all part of the ranch family together. And in that same group, I got Fannie, who is also a Suri. She is not as old as Toy Dancer. I forgot to look up the ages of everyone, so I'm pretty much just going to guess that Fannie is probably about 14, 15 years old. Like I said, also a Suri, but she has these beautiful, beautiful lashes as she walks away from me. You can see how her fiber shimmers in the sunlight. Suri fiber has a luster to it. That's the official industry term, is luster. That the Suri fiber is very similar to silk in its feel, and its drape. It drapes wonderfully, wonderfully. Nice how she's eating right on the poop pile. Great girls, great. The Fannie, she is one of my sweethearts. I forget if she was born at the farm that I got her from or not. Now that farm, they fully retired from alpacas. And this was 8 years ago, close to 9 years ago, that couple had fully retired and actually gave me 12. The remaining 12 of their herd they just gave to me. And so Toy Dancer and Fannie were a part of that group. I had a few crias from them. In fact, you'll meet one of the crias that came from that group a little bit later. But yeah, that is Fannie. Now the next group I'm going to show you also came early on, just after that group of suris. Nice how they're arguing over food right there. Yeah. Girls, come on. So yes, I got that group of suris, and then I had friends in Kearney, which is about an hour away, came up with this deal where I took their girls and they took my boys, and we all had, you know, single gender herds where the hormones were not an issue. That's especially when you have boys, that's a thing. So so I took her girls. Well, a few years after that, they ended up fully retiring, and I acquired their whole herd. So at first, these next 4 girls I'm going to show you did not belong to me at the time, but ultimately became mine. And the first I'm going to show you here is Sharla. Hello, Miss Sharla. Yes. So I'm kind of guessing at the age. I'm thinking she's about 15 years old now. You can see she's one of my, what would we call that? You might be noticing that she's walking a little funny. She got injured at some point. That back left hip faces forward. I don't know if it's the hip or something in the back end. I've had an animal chiropractor work on her a few times, and it's something that has not fully corrected, but she walks a lot better than she used to. So it's one of those things she's just going to have to live with. But yeah, I don't know what happened, but her back end does curve a little bit to her left side. And you might have noticed that when she was walking. So we continue to work with her. I do stop and do some physical therapy with her at times to kind of relieve some discomfort, I'm sure, that's back there. Okay, so that is Sharla, the medium fawn. That's the term I was thinking of. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. Medium fawn color. You might notice I have quite a few of that color, like Sharla, and this one right here, and the one out at the water, and actually this girl back here. I have quite a few of that color. And fawn seems to be a very common color in alpacas. If you didn't know, alpacas grow the most diverse colors of all fiber animals in the world. And in the US, we officially recognize 16 colors, medium fawn being one of those. But a lot of my girls are that color. An advantage of that, having multiple animals the same color, is when we shear the fiber off, then we can batch all those colors together if they are of similar micron, and which most of my medium fawn girls are. I'll show you this. I can get it. Yes. Sharla does walk very nicely on a halter. I don't halter my animals very often. Most of the time, they're just here eating and enjoying life and growing the fiber. I really don't take them anywhere. I have a couple that I might take to events if someone wants an alpaca to visit, like at a school or something. But in general, they just hang around here and love life. All right, she's going to go get some water. In the group with Sharla, let's find somebody else. This is Onyx. She is older still. I bet you she's 16, maybe even 17. She's definitely one of my older girls. And I can also tell in her fiber that as alpacas get older, their fiber does become more coarse. And that's really in relation to what they were when they were younger. But I can tell really by looking at her that it's definitely coarser. And each year I mostly use Ebony's fiber now for rugs. It makes excellent rugs. But you can see she's another medium fawn. And I would combine her with a number of these other girls. I do have some other ones, like even Sharla now can be rug. I can use some of hers for rug for sure. But okay, she's quite content eating the bottom of the bucket, because at the bottom is where all the alfalfa leaves have fallen, and the leaves are their favorite part. That's why they dig down underneath everything. They're going for those leaves. So she is filling her mouth with the leaves. And I don't think, can we see her actually eating? Can I get that? Can you show us actually pick? No, I can't get a good angle. Oh, hi, hon. Hello. Okay. Next is Lindsay. She is black with white on her face, as you can see, and on her front feet. Oh, hello. Her mother was also a part of that group when they came, and Lindsay was small for her age at that time. Her mother was a food hog, and Lindsay is pretty shy, and she doesn't fight. So when her mother would be aggressive with food, Lindsay would just back off. And as a result, and this is my theory, as a result, Lindsay didn't get as much food as she needed or perhaps even wanted. And so she was small for her age when she came to me. Well, I taught her how to fend for herself. I started off with a bowl of food. We feed these pellets each day, and I would feed Lindsay separately so that her mom and no one else or anyone else would be able to steal her food. Well, she discovered how full her belly and satiated she was from eating that and being able to get as much as she wanted. So eventually, she just stopped coming to me with that bowl and started eating with everyone else, but she learned to get the food that she needed on her own. And she grew to where now she is, what an adult-sized alpaca should be. So I got her, I think she was 3 years old when she came to me, and she was small for a 3-year-old. 3 should be full-grown alpaca, but she looked about 1 year old in size. But you can tell now she is full grown. So again, that was 8 years ago. Yeah. So she is about 11 years old. I have bred her a couple times, but have not gotten a cria out of her. Yeah, I don't do too well with breeding. I don't have very much success with breeding. But Lindsay, just because of her colors, it would be really nice to have a cria out of her. She's also she grows very long staple length. So, sorry, if I go to the other side, the sun's going to be in our face. Yeah, so Lindsay, she grows very long fiber. Like she has quite a bit that she grows, but she also grows it longer than the average alpaca in my herd. And she got that from her mother. Her mother grew very long staple length as well. Thanks, Lindsay. And Toy Dancer keeps getting in the way. This is Cat Sarah. She is the final female of that group from Carney. And you can see she's also a medium fawn. Lovely medium fawn girl. And now she has some of the nicest fiber that came out of that group. And she also produced a male cria that had very, very nice fiber. I no longer have him, but it was fun to see. I like family groups, I like seeing generations together. And I once had a number of them, but for one reason or another, I don't anymore. And now Cat Sarah's pretty, but she's not always very nice. She is halter trained, but she doesn't really like being on a halter. And she doesn't really like being touched. So, yeah, she pretty much just hangs out. Again, I've bred her Not gotten any crias. Yep. That's something for another year. This tall, dark girl here is named Jewell. She is the daughter of one of the original Suri group. Her mother has passed away, but her mother would have been part of the group with Toy Dancer and Fannie. And Jewell was the very first cria born to me. So when I was using the previous land that did not belong to me, I actually had this area built out in my side yard next to my house, meant for the crias to be born in, so that I would bring moms there near the end of their pregnancy, and then of course they'd have their babies there, and the babies would be there for a few weeks, making sure that life started off on a good note. And Jewell was the very first baby. Yep, I still have her dad. Her dad is over in the boys' barn. You'll see him in a future day. And she is the spitting image of her father, like a carbon copy of her father. As you can guess, she's also a Suri, but she has coarse fiber. Just to look at her, her fiber is a little different. Doesn't really have much of a lock structure in comparison with other Suris, and is certainly not any high-end Suris. So I've never bred her, and I continue to use her fiber for rugs. This girl here is Kiona. She came with a group of 4, and she was, when she first got here, she was overly protective of anyone in that group. One of them was her 1-year-old daughter at the time, and then 2 other adult females. And she was very protective of them. And at first I thought it was just her. She was just protective, and especially with one of them being her daughter. But she has settled in quite a bit. She has, oh, I'm going to guess here. How long have you been here, Kiona? When did you come? She actually became part of my herd when I was at the last property, not too long before the last property. So I'm going to say at least 6 years. In that time, her daughter found another home, and then the other 2 alpacas passed away. And now it's just her of that group. But over time, she has gotten much more content and settled in. She used to be my spitter. In fact, when I would hold open houses and people would come visit the ranch, I would put her in a stall and keep her where the people would not be able to approach her, and she wouldn't be able to get to them because she was prone to spit. And I think this is because of experiences that she had prior to being a part of my herd, where she was at a place where they would breed the girls to have babies in the fall, and then they would be sent off to like a petting zoo for the fall. And the rest of the time, you know, they were at their main home place. Well, because Kiona had experienced that a few times, she'd experienced people touching her babies, who knows what, but just the public invading their space. And I think that is why she was so protective of her daughter and those that were in her group. And even now, she's still kind of, it's interesting, when kids will come, children specifically, when children will come, there have been times when she just beelines it for the kids and spits in their face. So I think she's had some bad experiences, like I said, from that other place. But she has been here long enough now where the spitting is very minimal. If anyone's going to spit here, it's going to be her, but she really doesn't do it that much anymore. And she doesn't approach kids like she used to so aggressively. So I don't hold her back when the public is here. She's She's in with everybody else. In fact, she will be one of the first ones to approach someone like a guest when they come and see her. And she'll sniff them, and now she's usually looking for a treat. But she will be one of the first to greet anyone. And I still watch for her to see if she's going to spit. And she's pretty good now. She's pretty good and content and like well-behaved for the most part. But yeah, that's Kiona. Hello. This is Thunder. He's what I would consider a bonus member of the herd. At the very first property that I used for my alpacas, I was owned by a friend of mine who heard that llamas were good guards for alpacas. I didn't have a guard at that time. So when he discovered Thunder and some of his family members nearby, he really just wants to be close. But yeah, anyway, he purchased Thunder as a guard for the alpacas at first, and then later on, what he would ultimately use him for is guarding his calves. All right, I got this property that we're at 5 years ago. Thunder got to stay at the original property. Now, honestly, he's mostly a pet, okay? But he does have a job in the spring. He guards the calves. My friend, him and his family, they have hundreds of cattle. So they have a lot of calves, and Thunder roams out there in the pasture with them, doing what he can to keep coyotes away. And then in the winter time, he comes and stays here because the cattle are put on what were corn stalks that were raised that year. Thunder. So he loves cameras is part of it. You want to see yourself? Here, Thunder. You want to see yourself? Look. Hey, that's you. Yes. Ooh. So what's happened with Thunder is, so the cattle are put in pastures and fields, eating stuff that llamas and alpacas cannot eat. He cannot digest corn. So he is brought here every winter where he has this nice shelter. He has company, and he has the proper food. And he comes in the fall, usually late fall, and then he'll leave late spring. This year he did get fully shorn. I guess it's shorn. He doesn't always get shorn. Kind of depends. But Thunder is now an old man. He's pretty old. We've kind of guessed that he's about 17. And he is gelded. He did get gelded because at the place where my friend bought him, he has a what I call a brother son. He ended up breeding his mother, and she had a cria, his brother son. That kind of stuff happens in the animal world all the time. But people, you got to be a little more responsible, okay? So after that, Thunder got gelded. But yeah, he was an original member of this herd 8 years ago. It was early on that Thunder was a part of this herd. And like I said, now he just comes and is a part of the family in the wintertime. Thank you for joining me today for Vlogmas 2020. I'll see you tomorrow.